Coming up on New Day at Arirang, despite South Korea's new COVID-19 cases and critical cases sitting at record highs, the government pushes back consideration on an emergency response plan to try and stem the spread, especially in Seoul. Doctors warn of a new COVID strain found in Botswana, which they say has an incredibly high number of mutations. First detected on November 11th, the new variant is expected to be dubbed the new strain. Plus, the 13th Asia-Europe meeting aimed at deepening cooperation among its members kicks off in Cambodia. South Korea will share its response to the pandemic and the peace process on the Korean peninsula.
Hello and welcome to this Friday edition of New Day at Arirang. It's 8 a.m. November 26th here in Seoul, South Korea. The weekend is almost here. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kim Mo-gyan.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the weekend. I'm Mark Broom. Over the course of the next hour, we'll take a look at the big news stories of the day and get expert insights on the issues facing Korea and the world.
Now we start with the latest on the coronavirus situation in South Korea. The country is expected to see cases hover around the 4,000 mark once again today. Authorities are coming up with ways to tame the spread, but finding a solution doesn't seem to be easy.
Very difficult indeed. For more on this and other related updates, I'm happy to say we have our reporter Chae Min-jong in the studio with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
So Min-jong, how many cases are we looking at on this Friday?
Well, the country is forecast to see numbers hover around the 4,000 mark once again. From midnight to 9 p.m. Thursday, there were more than 3,200 cases confirmed. This is up by more than almost 200 cases from the day before. Authorities are on high alert as the capital Seoul continues to witness over 1,500 cases. Hospital beds for the severely ill are filling up quickly, and there are only 50 left in Seoul. The number of people being treated at home has also increased drastically. Almost 3,700 people living in Seoul are currently being treated at home, and compared to the day before, this is an increase of over 560 patients. Meanwhile, more than 80% of Seoul's population have been fully vaccinated, but over 30% of the new infections are breakthrough cases.
Right, Min-jong, but yesterday we heard that authorities have met to discuss strengthened distancing measures, but we heard that the announcement has been postponed.
Right. They were originally set to announce tougher antivirus measures today, but the authorities failed to reach a conclusion after Thursday's special meeting on pandemic response. Some of the plans that came up during the meeting was ramping up vaccine booster shots for seniors and expanding vaccine pass mandates to those under 18 as well. This means teenagers will soon have to be vaccinated or test negative for COVID-19 in order to enter facilities like singing rooms or public baths. There appears to be talks on mandating vaccine passes in restaurants and cafes as well as reducing the number of people allowed for social gatherings. The government's delay in making the decision suggests that it's not an easy task to please everyone, with strong opposition from small business owners.
Now, you touched upon the government's efforts to ramp up the distribution of these booster shots. What exactly is the current plan?
Well, as of now, their goal is to complete booster vaccinations for seniors aged 60 and over in December. The KDCA chief, Jung Eun-kyung, says that it is crucial to speed up this process, as even those vaccinated are getting infected due to waning immunity. Because it takes around 4 weeks to form immunity after the additional shot, Jung says it's important to reduce contact with others during that time.
Now, Min-jong, how are things going with the vaccinations for younger people?
Well, vaccination rates among teenagers are varying greatly by age. As of Thursday, 4 out of 10 people aged 12 to 17 have received first doses, while 17% are fully vaccinated. If you look at ages 16 to 17, 7 in 10 people have received first shots, and close to half have completed vaccinations. But in the lower age group from 12 to 15, less than 2% have been fully inoculated. And data shows the lower the age, the fewer people getting shots. And meanwhile, the risk of infection among students has increased with the resumption of full in-person classes, and authorities are advising younger kids to get vaccinated. This comes as an average of 400 students are getting infected in a single day. This being said, authorities have extended vaccine reservations for teenagers until the end of this year. Those aged 14 and over may also reserve leftover vaccines through Kakao or Naver.
Well, I hope that latest move could help ramp up vaccinations for younger people. Anyway, Min-jung, thank you so much for your report. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend. Now, the US is experiencing a rapid spread of COVID-19 nationwide, led by a new surge in the Midwest and Northeast.
In Europe, which has re-emerged as the pandemic's epicenter, the number of COVID-19 deaths has now topped 1.5 million. Kim Hyo-sun reports.
The number of COVID-19 infections is rising across the U.S. as Americans prepare for Thanksgiving. According to the New York Times, the average number of new infections during the past 7-day period was over 95,000, a 24% jump from 2 weeks ago. The number of hospitalizations also rose 11%. The number of cases in the Midwest and Northeast has been rapidly increasing in recent weeks, with Michigan set to receive federal assistance to battle the surge there. Despite the spread, tens of millions of Americans are expected to travel over the Thanksgiving holiday.
Majority of my family were vaccinated, but the other half is not, so we're being safe, we're keeping, masks, and we're vaccinated.
Europe on Thursday reached a grim milestone of 1.5 million COVID-19 deaths as nations grapple with a worsening crisis as winter sets in. In response, France has launched a plan to provide booster shots to all adults and to shorten the interval between second and third shots from 6 to 5 months. The measure comes as the country's new infections hit a 7-month high, surpassing 32,000 on Wednesday. Germany is now reporting that its accumulated COVID-19 death toll has surpassed 100,000. The country last week began to require people to prove they are vaccinated, have recovered from COVID-19, or have recently tested negative before taking public transport or entering workplaces. Some of the worst-hit areas have gone further, canceling Christmas markets and preventing unvaccinated people from multi-use facilities like gyms and bars. Germany's surge is partly blamed on its relatively low vaccination rate of about 69% compared to other Western European countries like France, where 75% of its population has been vaccinated. Meanwhile, the EU's drug regulator has cleared COVID-19 vaccines for children as young as 5, saying the benefits outweigh the risks. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
A new variant of COVID-19 with an extremely high number of mutations has been detected in Africa. Spike proteins are what viruses use to attach themselves to human cells, and this variant is known to have 32 mutations in the spikes. And because some vaccines target spike proteins, scientists are concerned this strain may evade them. The variant, expected to be dubbed the new strain, has so far been detected in 10 people in 3 countries. First in Botswana, where 2 cases were confirmed, then 6 in South Africa and 1 in Hong Kong in a traveler returning from South Africa. A U.S.-based expert says the mutations evolved during a chronic infection in a person with a weakened immune system, possibly an untreated AIDS patient. The 13th Asia-Europe meeting aimed at deepening political and economic cooperation among its members kicked off Thursday in Cambodia. Leaders from Asia and Europe are discussing global issues such as climate change and COVID-19 during the 2-day conference. Under the theme of strengthening multilateralism for shared growth, Cambodia, the current chair, said the member states will address issues including multilateralism for global peace and security, as well as sustainable growth. From South Korea, Prime Minister Kim Boo-kyum will attend virtually. He'll speak about the country's response to the pandemic and peace progress on the Korean peninsula.
China's top diplomat says Seoul and Beijing should strengthen ties at a high level next year when they mark 3 decades of diplomatic relations. Yang Jiechi, the Chinese Communist Party's foreign affairs chief, met on Thursday with South Korea's ambassador to China, Jang Ha-song, and said high-level talks will heighten the two countries' strategic partnerships. Observers interpret those remarks to mean a possible state visit to South Korea by Chinese President Xi Jinping. That is yet to happen, but South Korean President Moon Jae-in has visited China twice. Also at Thursday's meeting, the two diplomats reportedly shared their thoughts on common interests, perhaps including Seoul's proposed end of Korean War declaration. 11 years have passed since South Korea made the historic transition among OECD members. Once a country that received foreign aid back in the 1950s in the ashes of the Korean War, South Korea shifted to become one of the world's key donors in the span of just a few decades. Bae-yeon-ji with the details.
On November 25, 2009, South Korea joined the OECD's group of major aid donors called the Development Assistance Committee, or DAC, as its 24th member. Currently consisting of 30 members, DAC is a group of nations that donates either more than $100 million or more than 0.2% of its gross national income per year. South Korea is the only country among the DAC member states to turn from one of the poorest in the world to a major donor. When the Korean War ended in an armistice in 1953, the country was one of the poorest in the world, with gross national income per capita at just $67. Then in 1995, owing to South Korea's persistent and stable economic growth, the country officially graduated from the World Bank's list of countries receiving official development assistance. A year after that, in 1996, the country became a member of the OECD. In the year 2000, the OECD DAC also removed South Korea from its official development assistance recipient list, an official end to Korea's history of receiving foreign aid. Then, 9 years later, the country actually joined the OECD DAC.
South Korea kept on expanding the amount of its assistance after it became an OECD member. As of next year's budget plan, the country plans to set aside more than 4 trillion Korean won, or $3.3 billion to provide aid to other countries. This amount is expected to rank about 17th in the world.
According to a report by the Foreign Ministry, the nation is rapidly increasing the level of its ODA. The country donated $2.42 billion last year, 42 times more than the amount in 1991, when it gave away $57 million. By 2030, the government plans to double the amount compared to 2019. South Korea is currently providing assistance to 89 countries and 60 global bodies around the world. Bae-yeon-ji, Arirang News.
Now it's time for On Point, where we speak to experts to delve deeper into the biggest news stories in the spotlight right now. Dubbed the evolution of the internet, the metaverse is seen as the next frontier in online tech. Facebook's parent company, Meta Platforms, recently sent interest in the metaverse to new heights after it announced that it was going to pour billions of dollars into its own metaverse.
Facebook's and others will be the centralized versions, but there are already plenty of decentralized versions already up and running. For more, we connect to Sebastian Bourget, co-founder and COO of the Sandbox, a decentralized gaming virtual world. Good morning, Sebastian. Now, you've spoken at the G-Star conference in Korea for the past couple of years. Last year was online due to the pandemic. Yes. But you were in Busan for this year's event. It must have been nice to mingle face-to-face again. Could you sense how the excitement for the metaverse has grown over the past 12 months?
Oh, it's been an incredible year in terms of the growth of the metaverse. Like, there's been several companies that's been announcing building metaverses already, from Roblox, from Facebook rebranding itself as Meta, Microsoft as well, and Epic Fortnite, of course. And we at Sandbox have been experiencing as well this tremendous growth, seeing the number of users more than tripling, reaching almost 800,000 users with a wallet to date. We've announced earlier this month receiving our Series B fundraising led by SoftBank Vision Fund 2, for a total of $93 million. We have large amount of new users who are onboarding the platform, more than 20,000 accounts on a daily basis, new accounts with the wallet, as well as, a fantastic community of more than 15,000 unique landowners into our virtual world. So you might ask, like, what is the metaverse in general? This is a concept of a digital parallel universe where us human beings will be able to engage, interact with more social, rich, connected, immersive experience. And we're going to do that through a 3D avatars. And what Sandbox is building is something really unique. It's this new gaming virtual world where users truly own their digital asset, truly own their identity through their avatar, truly own the currencies and tokens, and then they can monetize the content they create, such as the 3D asset or experience, or they can monetize the time they spent through the different rewards they receive by engaging, playing, winning at different quests, exploring the world, etc. And that now that we can appreciate that the content, those digital assets hold value, the users who are spending time or creating those content are bringing value to those virtual worlds, we can establish a whole new digital economy behind. And I think it's really an exciting, something really exciting that's pushing toward creating new jobs into this digital economy. And some of those jobs we can see are people who are going to create content, like digital architects, builders, level designer, fashion designers, as well as players who can spend time and engaging, collecting those rewards as well, are being rewarded for the time they bring. And in Korea last week, I had the chance to meet with several other studio founders, with various entertainment companies ranging from K-pop, from music, from artists, etc. And we were really looking at like how we can bring those brands into the metaverse and enable their fans, their community to engage with these brands into those virtual world in a more meaningful manner, more immersive manner, and for letting the users truly own the content that they are going to create or engage, expanding through, the different kind of experience they can see and turn it potentially into their new jobs or a new revenue stream.
Okay, Sebastian, so at the Sandbox, you do have your native token. It's called Sand. It's been doing very well in recent weeks and months. Just tell us how the token is used within the Sandbox and why are cryptocurrencies and decentralized metaverse projects so closely intertwined?
Sand is the main utility token of a platform. It enables, it's an access token, so you need Sand in order to acquire land in our virtual world, land which is a piece of digital real estate that you can use to publish your game experience and access monetization. You also need Sand if you want to buy or sell assets on the marketplace, and you earn that Sand when you transfer that content to other users or sell it. So that's first of all, like this currency, that medium of exchange. It's also a way to enable the governance of that world. So as users hold more Sand or land on their avatars, they're able to participate and vote into some key decision of the platform, having more weight there on some of those elements, such as like priorities on the roadmap, the way the world should be governed, the land should be attributed, or the foundation that is now worth more than 300 million Sand, or as of today rate over $2 billion. Is going to be distributed between play-to-earn prize, creator funds, grants, and staking prize. We also have a possibility to stake Sand, so by just holding it, even if you are not participating as a player, as an artist, as a creator, you can contribute to the economy of this whole new digital nation that we're seeing being built in front of us.
All right. And finally, global tech giants are racing to build their own metaverse projects. The Sandbox and other DeFi projects have a head start. But what have companies like Facebook, Google, and Apple achieved so far? And on a side note, do you consider them competition?
Well, the concept of metaverse is essentially existing through the multiplicity of those virtual worlds where users can interact and live those different experiences. There are, on one side, decentralized one where users truly own their identity, their asset, and they can transfer them in a permissionless manner from one to another, holding the content directly through their wallet. And there are more closed economies and centralized metaverse, such as Meta, such as Roblox, etc., where, well, as users, all the value you contribute, all the content you purchase isn't really yours. And so you cannot transfer it to other users, you cannot monetize it the way you want. And actually, you are the product. You, as a user, is being monetized. Typically, looking at Meta, it's a company that's been building, and it's been the best of its kind, a business model where essentially, like, they are collecting data about you. You are the product being monetized, and they use that data to better target you and offer you sort of ads selling you other products. I think the metaverse should be really something more than that. It should be really something that offers diverse experience. It's a place where you can discover a new culture. It's more than just gaming or work. You will be able to see like fashion show, virtual concert, galleries, museum, house parties, games, of course. It's going to be really a place you want to come back, and it's going to be fun. But that vision of locking users in and not allowing them to develop their own business model or engage in new ways where ownership is ownership of all the content, ownership of your identity, ownership of all the elements you see or engage or create is a strong limitation. And there's a growing number of users for who that ownership matters. Privacy, owning your data, owning your identity is essential, and they are embracing the idea of moving into more decentralized virtual worlds and metaverse.
Yeah, you said that people, your vision at the Sandbox is to put the power in the people's hands, and that's probably not the case for companies like Facebook and Google. And I don't know about you, Mogyeon, but that Mark Zuckerberg Meta clip that came out was pretty cringe-worthy. Some people saying that the avatar of Mark Zuckerberg was more lifelike than the actual Mark Zuckerberg. But we do appreciate your insights, Sebastian. Thank you ever so much for joining us, and best of luck with the Sandbox. I'm sure it'll do extremely well. Thank you.
Thank you.
A debate has been raging for months in South Korea over whether content providers should pay internet service providers for network use. The back and forth between South Korean companies and foreign platforms like Netflix has become so acute that it has spilled over to the political world. Kim Do-yeon reports.
The network usage fee discussion continues. Representatives from both sides, the content provider and internet service provider, made their claims at a roundtable discussion at South Korea's National Assembly, hosted by Deputy Speaker Kim Sang-hee from ruling Democratic Party and Kim Young-sik from the major opposition People Power Party. Netflix, who has been at the forefront of the network usage fee dispute in South Korea, repeated its claims of having no responsibility over the fees.
If somehow we would legitimate widely the concept of network usage fees, this means that any website anywhere on the internet would have to compensate any ISP network anywhere on the internet. This would lead to very paradoxical situations.
South Korean content providers are already responsible for network usage fees to local internet service providers of up to nearly $100 million a year. A representative for the local ISP said they do pay services outside of Korea as well to the content delivery networks such as Amazon.
When the content provider pays Amazon web hosting once, how it actually goes to the world doesn't matter. It goes out. That's the end. They're already paying.
The conversation also comes as Netflix's South Korean originals gained global attention, especially Squid Game and Hellbound.
If fees are somehow imposed in Korea, whereas outside of Korea, Korean ISPs actually pay to connect to the content, this may create a perverse incentive that content providers are discouraged from localizing in Korea and incentivized to locate outside of Korea.
While there are many stakeholders, it can seem confusing, but Professor Cho believes the idea is rather simple.
Whoever uses other people's resources should be responsible for the cost. Whoever profits from others' resources should be responsible for a reasonable amount of compensation. And whoever causes the cost should bear the cost.
One of the assembly members who proposed a bill regarding mandatory network usage fees said legislative procedure should be the last resort, and hopes that the situation is settled between Netflix and the ISPs themselves.
From our perspective, we have to pass this law in this regular session, and I hope everyone understands, as this is a must, considering it's related to being fair, a big issue in South Korean society today.
Currently, 4 members of the National Assembly have proposed bills to make network usage fees mandatory for foreign content providers. However, the legislative process is expected to spur a heated debate among members of the Assembly, as this will be the world's first such law. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, going green is the aim of most of the international community, and the auto industry is no exception to that. Shifting away from petrol and diesel, the world's leading automakers are showcasing their latest eco-friendly models at this year's Seoul Mobility Show. Om Jeong with the details.
A futuristic vehicle where you can enjoy the party spirit during the drive. A dash of 70s and 80s nostalgia with an electric car based on Hyundai's classic Pony. An AI program that lets drivers control their car just by speaking.
아리야, 신나는 노래 들려줘.
러블리즈의 러브 게임 들려드릴게요.
Visitors can encounter all these at South Korea's biggest motor show, the Seoul Mobility Show. The 10-day event, which opens to public on Friday, has been held since 1995. This year, more than 100 companies and institutions from 6 countries are showcasing their latest mobility technologies. But there weren't that many gas guzzlers at this year's show, as many companies are going green.
The show was organized under the theme of sustainable connected mobility. Currently, global auto companies are focused on making eco-friendly cars their main products.
19 brand new models, including the latest offerings from Kia and Mercedes-Benz, are being unveiled at the show.
One of the hottest vehicles showcased at the event was Kia's eco-friendly car, the all-new Niro, which the company unveiled with the goal of becoming a sustainable mobility solutions provider.
Niro is the model that leads Kia's eco-friendly lineup and is to go on sale early next year. A Kia executive said that every new vehicle that the company brings out will strengthen its vision of sustainable mobility.
The sustainable mobility was very important to us. The Kia Niro respects the idea of mobility in many ways. For example, aerodynamics was very important to us, efficiency was very important to us, but also if you look on the interior, we used recyclable material.
Mercedes-Benz also revealed its latest electric car model, the new EQS, showing how it can go electric without compromising on its brand.
The transformation of Mercedes-Benz towards electricity is in full swing, and that we are further going to boost the industry's shift to electric. We are doing this in the fundamental belief that the future is electric.
The mobility show was not just about the vehicles, but also about the infrastructure that'll support the transition to the era of electric cars. Hyundai said it'll test operate its portable electric vehicle rechargers starting in December and will expand its recharging infrastructure in major cities across South Korea. 엄지영, 아리랑 뉴스.
Welcome to Dialogue This Week. In this corner, we invite guests from in and out of Korea to talk about a wide variety of issues ranging from culture, sports, to the latest trends around the world. Today, like many of you may have guessed by the color of my attire, we're going to talk about Korean boy band BTS's latest achievements. Just earlier this week, BTS managed to grab 3 awards at the American Music Awards, including Artist of the Year, and they've become the first Asian act to not only be nominated for the grand prize, but also to take home the prize. More excitement is underway as the group was also once again nominated for the Best Pop Duo Group Performance at the 2022 Grammy Awards. To delve deeper into the K-pop history makers' achievements, we are joined by Thomas Summer, CFO and co-founder of SG Entertainment via Skype. Good morning, Mr. Summer. Great to have you on our show.
Hello, good morning.
And also to give us an insider's view from BTS fans all over the world, we're joined by Marie Vizuet, Secretary of the U.S. BTS Army. Welcome, Marie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Marie, as I've mentioned, BTS achieved another landmark feat by bringing home 3 trophies from this year's AMAs. Along the way, ARMY has really, solidified support for BTS around the world. As an ARMY member yourself, what are your reactions to this achievement, and what do you personally think has made it possible for BTS to make such history in the music industry?
I believe the reason BTS continues to make history is because of the message that they that they send to ARMY and to the public, the message to end violence, the message to love yourself. Not only that, but also their lyrics also talk about serious topics that many around the world can relate to, including myself. Because of their personalities and authenticity, I believe there's this very special connection between ARMY and BTS of appreciation and love for each other. And I think that's the reason that BTS continues to grow.
Well, I could totally feel how you are so much proud of them. Now, Marie, BTS has collaborated with many artists like Ed Sheeran, Nicki Minaj, and Fall Out Boy, and of course, the latest with Coldplay for My Universe. It was the first time that the 2 hitmakers had ever performed in the song in the same space together. What significance does this have?
I believe that their collaboration with Coldplay for My Universe shows that the music industry is expanding. The fact that Coldplay from England and BTS from South Korea are able to have such a successful collaboration shows that the border of language is slowly disappearing.
And now let's turn to Mr. Summer, the return of offline concerts and on such grand platform. Do you think it's time for the music industry to get ready for a post-COVID performance era now? And are there any significant matters that you expect to change for K-pop idols after the COVID pandemic?
Well, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, first of all, because we're not sure that COVID is over. I think they just found a new strain. So we have to be a bit careful about saying that we're now in the post-COVID era. The second thing is that even if COVID is over, we've seen that there are some behaviors from fans and from consumers that have changed with the pandemic. And in particular, I think it won't be as easy to get everyone to come to concerts or to get to the same place that it was before. So entertainment companies and idols will have to multiply the online activities in order to communicate with the fans more and more. The second thing is that with COVID and with the situation globally, I think that more and more K-pop idols will need to offer not only entertainment, but also, like BTS have done, offer solace and comfort to their fans as well.
So the importance of online, connections with fans will be even more important. Now, Mr. Summers, BTS isn't the only Korean idol group that's gaining world recognition, but as someone involved in the industry, what is it about BTS that really differentiates them in terms of making history in the industry? What makes them so, magical?
I think that no one has really been able to really pinpoint exactly what makes BTS so magical. But I think it's really, according to my own ideas, I think it's really up to three factors. First of all, there's the aesthetics that are just really perfect. Second of all, you have their personalities, which are amazing. And I don't think that anyone has this kind of blend of amazing personalities in just one group. And the third thing, as Marie said, is the content, is what they have brought to fans in terms of the messaging and in terms of helping people understand who they are, understand how to love themselves. And they have brought all this messaging that has really resonated with the fans' needs in terms of identity and in terms of meaning.
Can't agree with you more. Now let's go back to Marie. This week, the Grammys released the results of the first round of voting where BTS secured the nomination for Best Pop Duo Group Performance. And, you know, Butter has been nominated alongside Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga's I Get a Kick Out of You, Justin Bieber and Benny Bianco's Lonely, and Coldplay's Higher Power, and Doja Cat and SZA's Kiss Me More. Now, this is the second year in a row that BTS has been nominated for this title. Last year, the title ended up going to Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande's Rain on Me. How do you feel about this? And do you think BTS can take home the win this time?
BTS so far has had an amazing year, you know, with multiple number ones, selling out their stadium tour for the 4 dates at SoFi Stadium, and they have millions of ARMY watching their concerts. I believe there's a very strong possibility that second time's a charm.
Well, I hope so too. Well, BTS has only received this one nomination for the 2022 Grammy Awards, despite, you know, having, like you said, a rather blockbuster year. Butter spent a whopping 10 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Permission to Dance peaked at #1 as their collaboration track My Universe did as well. Were there other categories you expected BTS to be nominated for at the Grammys?
I think RM, the leader of BTS, said it best himself. He stated that whether BTS receives a Grammy or not, ARMY and BTS have each other, and that means we have everything. ARMY will continue to support BTS in any way we can, and I think it's just the love and the appreciation that we have for each other that continues to drive BTS to bigger milestones.
Well, that was a very heartwarming message. Now, what about you, Mr. Summer? How likely is it that BTS can bring home a Grammy this year? Are there any, you know, industry politics we need to look at before there?
Well, I have to say I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately, nor am I a member of the Grammy jury. The only thing I can say is that, of course, it is a subjective assessment, and it would be naive not to think that there are some, you know, business considerations that are involved in these kind of awards. But you know, at the end of the day, it's all business, and but saying more than that would be just pure speculation at this point. But I think that personally, I think that BTS deserves it.
Now back to Marie. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, BTS has really, you know, made efforts to keep up hope for fans around the world. And this weekend, BTS is set to kick off the first of 4 highly anticipated live concerts, their first offline concert in almost 2 years. Will you be going to any of the concerts? And, you know, how do you feel about it?
I think that. Oh, I'm sorry. You said since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and about the concerts that are coming up?
The concerts that are coming up, will you be able to attend those concerts, and how do you feel about it?
Thankfully, I have been able to get tickets for the first day, so I'm really excited to go and see BTS. It has been 2 years since the Speak Yourself tour, and I'm sure that BTS is just as excited as ARMY to have time that we can finally see each other and enjoy the concerts in person once again.
What are you, Marie, staying with Marie, what are you most excited about ahead of, you know, before going to these concerts?
I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to see what the set list is going to be like, but also I'm excited to be surrounded by ARMY. ARMY has built such a strong community that as soon as you step into the stadium, there's this sense of acceptance and of love, of mutual understanding for this thing that we have in common, which is being fans of BTS. So I'm very excited to see them and also meet ARMY as well.
And also, Mr. Summer, SG Entertainment produces K-pop idols. How does the success of BTS pave the road for some, while perhaps pose any challenges for aspiring idols?
Yes, I think BTS has set the bar very high, and so far, I don't think that anyone's been able to jump over it yet. In terms of opportunities, BTS really puts K-pop on the map for many people that had no idea about the genre before. And in this sense, they have opened doors for this kind of music and for Korean content in a more general way. I think the challenge is that people might associate K-pop with just what BTS does, and it might be limited in terms of creativity for other groups who might come later and do something different. So I think those are the opportunities and challenges associated with this amazing success.
And, you know, lately there's been some discussion about BTS going to, you know, getting some, BTS being exempted from going to South Korea's, you know, military service. Mr. Summer, what do you think about this? If they kind of postpone this to, you know, at least a year more, what kind of impact would this have on, you know, the popularity and the achievements of BTS in the future?
I think if they did have to go to military service, which I probably think they will in the end, it will not necessarily impact their popularity that much, because I think that their legacy will go on. They have really been, you know, at the forefront. They kind of like being the pioneers in a sense. However, it will put more pressure on the next group to come forward and become the next torchbearer of K-pop across the world.
Now, what about Marie? How do you feel about this? What if, you know, BTS members would have to go to the army soon? What, as an army fan, what do you, how would you like to feel?
Since I've been in army, I've understood that BTS is going to eventually enlist into the military, and I think we all are just waiting for that moment to happen. And when it does come, we're ready. We will continue to stream their music, we will continue to buy their merch, and we will continue to support them in any way we can until they come back.
That is some solid support. Well, before we let you go, Marie, do you have any message for, you know, BTS fans and BTS in the near future? Like, do you have any message to tell them?
Yeah, I would just like to tell ARMY and BTS to continue to stream, to continue to put out the music that you do. And thank you so much for everything that you have done for us. And I can't wait to see what's coming in the future.
All right. We will all be looking forward to, you know, BTS and more K-pop acts that could follow the paths of BTS in the future. But I'm afraid we will have to wrap up at this point. Thank you so much, Marie and Mr. Summer. We appreciate your time and contribution to our show.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Now, as Mogyeon just touched upon there, some good news for BTS fans around the world. BTS will be able to perform as a 7-piece next year, as the group has filed for a deferment of military enlistment. This comes as Jin, the oldest member of BTS, who was born in December 1992, would have had to enlist next month. But as all BTS members have applied to postpone their enlistment until the age of 30, due to this amendment to the Military Service Act for outstanding persons in the field of pop culture and art, Jin can be active in BTS until his birthday in December 2022. South Korea's Defense Ministry on Thursday stressed the need for prudence, though, in considering military exemption for K-pop stars, citing the nation's shrinking population and other factors. Now, one of Korea's most beloved painters from the early 20th century is Park Soo-keun. He's famous for using gritty textures to portray the lives of ordinary people who suffered so greatly in the aftermath of war. And now, the largest ever retrospective exhibition of his work is being held right here in Seoul. Our Kim Bok-young went to check it out and files this report.
A painter who paid careful attention to the lives of the ordinary people as they rebuilt their lives after war. Park Soo-keun developed his own unique painting technique of multi-layered thick matière. Ever since his childhood, he dreamed of becoming an artist like Millet, but he had to study art on his own as getting a formal art education was an unthinkable luxury. His lenses spotted people nearby after the Korean War, and that made him an artist beloved by Koreans.
Park Soo-keun painted in the 1950s and 60s, and this is when artists were exploring the ways for Korea's modern art to develop after the Korean War. He used the Western tools of oil painting, but always tried to spot Korea's own objects, structure, and coloring.
Now there's a chance to delve deeper into his art. The artist's largest retrospective to date is taking place at MMCA Deoksugung Palace, presenting more than 170 oil and watercolor paintings. More than 30 pieces that have been donated by the late Samsung Group chairman Lee Gun-hee have been included, which made Park's oeuvre even more extensive.
3 Women is one of the donated pieces. After the Korean War, lots of men died or became jobless and sick. Women had to be the breadwinners, and the painting depicting them either having cigarettes or cupping their chins because they were struggling for sales.
His well-known works featuring a woman pounding grain and children with babies are at the center of the exhibition. Other masterpieces include those that went overseas after being bought by foreign buyers, such as Old Folks Chattering, which was bought by a professor at the University of Michigan.
His unique thick matière technique is what first catches visitors' eyes. But if you delve deeper into his art, you'll realize how skilled he was in arranging elements in a bold but stable manner.
Barren trees take up the main space, a bold and daring attempt. But Park makes the structure stable with other elements such as people next to trees. Leafless branches make the paintings wintry, but as spring comes after the winter, it shows the artist's hope that one day a warm spring would come. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. At least 14 people are dead following an accident in a coal mine in Siberia on Thursday, including 3 rescuers who were sent down as part of rescue efforts. At least 11 miners died in the initial accident when coal dust ignited in a ventilation shaft, filling the mine with smoke. At least 239 have made it above ground. However, the country's emergencies ministry feared there could be further casualties, including among rescuers.
Recently, the bodies of 3 rescuers were found, and now they are being lifted to the surface. The fate of the 3 other rescuers is currently unknown. The search continues.
Dozens of people are being treated in hospital, some of them for smoke poisoning. Authorities say 4 are in critical condition. The mine is located in the coal-producing region of Kemerovo, some 3,500 kilometers east of Moscow. The region has suffered fatal mining accidents in the past, including in 2010, where an explosion at a mine killed more than 90 people. When you think of Thanksgiving in New York City, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And on Thursday, spectators lined the streets of Manhattan once again for the 95th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, as last year's event was scaled down and closed to the public due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Known for their massive character balloons floating down the streets of Manhattan, in all there were 15 balloons this year, including newcomers such as Grogu from The Mandalorian. The classic astronaut Snoopy once again appeared in this year's parade, the 9th version of the Snoopy balloon so far. While other U.S. cities host parades, New York's event has become an icon of the holiday tradition, being televised across the country to some 50 million viewers as they prepare for their Thanksgiving meals. Football fans across the world on Thursday paid tribute to football legend Diego Maradona, marking the 1-year anniversary of his death. In a church in Garin, Argentina, family members joined a mass in his memory, with a large portrait of the 1986 world champion on the altar.
My dear ones, we're not here to celebrate death, we came to celebrate life. The life that Diego left us, the life that Diego gave us, and the life that Diego lives with his presence.
Argentinos Juniors, his first pro football club, opened a sanctuary to commemorate Maradona, while Italian club Naples, along with hundreds of its fans, paid tribute with an unveiling of a statue of the football legend in front of the stadium named after him. 이승재, Arirang News.
Hello, I'm Kelly Park, filling in for E.G. Hen this morning. Clear blue skies are in forecast across the nation, but we're seeing a rapid drop in temperatures starting off below the freezing point this morning. So make sure to bundle up nice and warm before heading out. Now, sunny skies will persist throughout the day with much colder air sweeping the nation, which is maintaining normal to good air quality levels. However, gusty winds and dry weather advisory is still in effect along the east coastal region, so take precautions to prevent fires. Now, daytime highs in Seoul will hike up to 6 degrees Celsius, Daejeon 9, and Daegu at 11 degrees, showing a big gap between day and night. So take extra care not to catch cold. Now, mostly sunny skies are in store for this weekend and early next week. A round of rain or snow is forecast nationwide. With that, here's the look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that's all the time we have for this Friday edition of New Day at Arirang. We'll see you again at the same time on Monday. I'm Kim Mo-gen. Have a wonderful weekend.
Yes, and I'm Mark Broom. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll be back with more of the news at 10 a.m. Korea time in around an hour from now. And goodbye, and we'll see you next week.